It's like just getting everything going. Oh, hello. Hi. So I'm a little informal right now, but I'm going to go over my first negative getting constructive. So let me get myself all set up and got my timer and get it started. Thank you for anyone who happens to be watching our debate. This is the first negative constructive on the energy topic. I'm responding to my opponent who brought up a proposition to research and develop nuclear power plants, specifically molten salt reactor power plants. I'm going to actually start by refuting the arguments that were brought up on his case, and then I'm going to introduce a disadvantage. First, I want to start with the resolutional analysis. There's two things I want to point out. The first one is on the plan text. I want to highlight the fact that this plan text is research focused rather than infrastructure focused. What that means is that the monies and the enforcement that's being put out is to see if possibly this might be a good idea in the future. That means there is no guarantee of any sort of solvency for the entire case. The second thing I want to point out under the as far as the plan is concerned is that even under the best scenario, that the time it takes to research the potential for molten salt reactors and thorium energy is such a long timeline that it is too long to realize the benefits. The last thing I want to talk about on resolutional analysis is about the criteria. This is more of a clarification than refutation. And I want to clarify that, yes, this is cost versus benefits. But if I, as a negative, argue that the plan proposed by the affirmative doesn't solve any of the stated problems on the case, I should win then too. Even if I don't prove that the costs outweigh, if I prove that everything still sucks after the plan, I should win. Let's start with the first advantage, okay? The first advantage, I want to focus on solvency. In order to do that, let's review what the harms are. And the harms were specifically that we're going to face a 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. So the implication is that researching and developing these nuclear power plants will somehow stave off that increase. My argument is that even if we do build these power plants, it's not going to prevent that increase. I got 3 reasons for this. The first one is that the plan only deals with energy, and energy for a single country. Climate change can only be solved if everyone gives up cars and air travel. This is by Mayor Hillman, not Mayor. His first name is actually Mayor. And he was quoted in The Guardian on April 26. The Guardian points out that global emissions were static in 2016, but the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was confirmed as sea levels were up higher. Hillman says that even if the world went zero carbon today, that would not save us because we've gone past the point of no return. So even if we started building those power plants, let alone just researching them right now, there's no way we're going to prevent a 2 degrees Celsius increase. My next argument is that a 2 degree increase is inevitable. The world passed the tipping point in 2017. This is according to the National Journal, and this was back in December 1st, 2012. Listen to this. It said that a report said that the rapid projected increase in pollution from burning coal, gas, and oil, and the nation's current pledges to cut carbon emissions won't be enough to stave off the 2 degree rise. Moreover, sometime before the century end. Moreover, if action isn't taken to significantly cut carbon emissions by 2017, the existing power plants, factories, and buildings will be enough to push temperatures past the 2 degree mark. It doesn't matter if we change our energy sources. We've passed the point of no return. The next thing I want to talk about is that thorium's benefits are overstated. This is simply stated in The Wired on September 17, 2010. It was a report from the UK's National Nuclear Laboratory. They said that, yes, there are theoretical advantages, but those advantages typically are overstated. So even these benefits that he's talking about are probably, higher than the reality is going to be after all the research and development is done. Next, I want to move on to advantage 2. And first, talk about the harms. He said that, people are scared because of Chernobyl. I'm like, yeah, people should be scared. So I'm going to disagree that people are being dramatic about this. The first reason is that molten salt reactors use fluoride salts, and those are potentially dangerous. EcoWatch on February 11th, 2014 explains that fluoride is meant to contain nuclear reactions, but fluoride can be really toxic, and if it goes gaseous, it is deadly. Next thing is mining, that you need to mine thorium. And the Bulletin on Environmental Contamination and Toxicology, December 1st, 2016, pointed out that mining creates dust, uranium dust and thorium dust, and it increases bioaccumulation of those chemicals and minerals in surrounding areas. They are also a common anthropogenic source of lung cancer and other types of cancer, lung disease, pancreatic cancer, and other things like that. So these fuels aren't safe. Even the safest fuels aren't safe. Later on in this advantage, he talks about how if we move to nuclear, we don't have to rely on fossil fuels, and that's good for international relations because we will deal with India instead of OPEC. My response is that India is unstable. First, because of the India-Pakistan conflict. New York Times just yesterday, August 17, 2019, pointed out that India annexed Kashmir. It's the only majority Muslim state in the country, and Pakistan and India have been fighting over that territory for a really long time. Secondly, I'd say that this move is putting democracy at risk in India. So by the time these power plants are put into place, they could be really unstable. The Atlantic on August 8th, 2019 said that this may be the most important event in an enormously volatile part of the world since the end of the last century, with repercussions that will extend far beyond Kashmir itself. Ultimately, India doesn't look like this really great stable place. I'm running out of time, so last 45 minutes I have a disadvantage, and this is about nuclear proliferation. The first thing is that molten salt reactor power plants, they produce uranium-233. And according to Nature International Journal of Science, December 5th, 2012, you only need 8 kilograms of uranium-233 to make a weapon. Secondly, the plan significantly increases demand for this fuel. I think that's pretty stated. But the internal link is that there are 3 problems with this. First, that these technologies, people can covertly create uranium-233, and build up their weapons supply, and they'll kind of cover it up with these things. Secondly, the infrastructure required to take chemical partitioning of these things, it can happen in really small laboratories. And the problem with this is that proliferation really risks mutually assured destruction, and let alone the moral problems and climate change implications. Ultimately, I don't think nuclear energy is the way to go. We have a whole lot better approaches with the boost in the amount of renewable energies outside of nuclear. And for this reason, I beg to oppose.